Welcome back to my channel, and I'm back with another DIY, and this time I'm going to show you how to make this super cute floral letter which with the flick of a switch even lights up. The DIY is really simple to do and the letter makes a really nice decorative item to put on a shelf, in a bedroom, loads of places that you could display it, and of course you can use any letter you want and any flowers you want, and it's really easy. So here's how I did it. So the first thing that you're going to need is your letter. I've obviously chosen a D for my name, Debs. I got mine from Hobbycraft. It is a light balsa wood 3D letter. As you can see, it's got depth to it and the front is missing. You could also buy one of those papier-mâché cardboard type letters, but you would have to cut the front section of the letter off, but that would also work. Then you're going to need some gold paint or any colour paint. I've decided to paint the base of my letter gold and I'm using my favourite WREATH gold acrylic and just a simple paintbrush, but you could paint yours white or black, loads of different colours. Then you're going to need some scissors and also some snips. The snips are for cutting down your fake flowers. So you can use scissors, but sometimes some of those fake flower stems need a pair of snips just to get through the thickness. And you're also going to need a glue gun, my trusty glue gun, which is looking such a mess, but it's so useful and I use it for so many projects. So this one does require a glue gun. You could maybe get away with using some kind of tape, but it's so much easier with a glue gun and they are really cheap to pick up, and I will link some in the description box. You're also going to need some fairy lights to make the whole letter illuminate, and the best kind of lights are these little mini firefly lights. I get mine from Primark. They're so cheap, they're £2.50. You can get them in different colours and on different coloured wire. I'm just using the warm white and they're on a sort of coppery rose gold wire. However, you won't see the wire in the letter, but I thought just in case it'd be nice if it was a nice pretty rose gold colour. And of course you're going to need flowers. I'm using a complete mix of flowers. Mine are collected from places such as The Range, Dunelm and even the Pound Shop. And if you watch my previous DIY where I made a floral wreath, you'll have seen where I got most of these flowers, and I'm essentially using the leftovers of what I didn't use in that DIY. So I'm using a mix of roses, hydrangeas, I'm going to use some eucalyptus because I love that muted green colour, and also just a mixture, of nice tonally pastel coloured flowers for my letter, but you could use any colours you want, and you could even do this DIY with succulents as well, which would look amazing. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint my whole letter gold. I'm going to paint inside, out, all around the sides and the back as well. So this takes a little bit of time, obviously, to allow all the sides to dry, protect your surface that you're painting on. As I said, I'm going to use my gold acrylic paint, but you could use any colour you wanted, and you could also spray paint the letter if you wanted to. So you want to give it a base colour because you will see the sides of the letter. While my letter's drying, I'm going to get my flowers, and using my snips, I'm going to snip off all the heads. Because for these flowers, to put them into the letter, you're going to want not very much stem at all, because obviously there's not much depth to the letter. So you're probably going to want to snip off fairly close to the top. Then I'm going to go back to my letter, paint the sides, and also give the whole thing a second coat so the paint finish is really, really neat. Before I get going with gluing in all the flowers, I'm actually going to attach my fairy lights, because the fairy lights are actually going to intertwine in amongst the flowers, and what you want is for the wire to already be there behind the flowers before you start gluing them in, just the first section before the lights start. So I'm just going to feed the wire over the letter, because the battery pack is actually going to live on the back of the letter, all nicely hidden, and I'm going to use my glue gun just to attach the first bit of wire onto the letter. Do be careful with the old glue gun because it does get very hot. I actually use the tip of my scissors to help me push the wire into the glue so that I don't burn my fingers. Little tip there for you. Also try and avoid any hot glue on any areas where there's an actual little firefly bulb. You only want glue on the wired section. So in order that there's going to be some twinkly lights from underneath the flowers, I'm actually going to run the fairy lights the whole way around the D into the corner. And I'm actually just going to dot glue around, making sure to avoid, as I said, any of the actual lights. And using my scissors, just going to press the wire down into the crevice, and I'm going to run that wire the whole way around the D once before I start putting my flowers in. I've got fairy lights running around the whole length of the outside of the D. And I'm going to run some fairy lights around the little middle section of the D as well, and end up with my wire right back where I started. It's a little bit time consuming to do this, but it is worth it, and making sure that your lights are nice and well glued down. As I said, do make sure that you avoid putting glue on the actual little firefly light sections. And now the fun bit starts, sticking in your flowers. So I'm going to start with a large peony head here in the corner and work my design out from there. I did have a little bit of a play around with some flowers before I started gluing in my fairy lights, just to get an idea of the kind of design that I wanted to do, so it is well worth doing that. You could even lay them all out ready on the piece of card and then just stick them in one by one. So yeah, I'm just going to stick some hot glue on there, onto the base of the flower, and press it into the letter, and just start working my way around, starting with this big flower and adding more in around it. Similar to when I did the floral wreath, it's nice to have a nice mix of flowers and colours next to each other. So, try to alternate, don't have the same flowers next to each other. And when I get up to the top corner, I'm going to have another slightly larger flower up in that top left corner. Then I'm going to start adding bits and bobs of greenery, so some of my eucalyptus leaves, just to break up the design and also add that lovely muted green colour that I like. Also, the eucalyptus has sort of length to it, and it adds some really, really nice 3D-ness to the floral letter. That's not even a word, but you guys know what I mean. The eucalyptus is a little bit trickier to glue. You have to run some hot glue along the stem and then sort of press it onto either another flower or to the side of the letter. So that one is a little bit trial and error, but it does make all the difference. So any kind of greenery with some sort of length to it that you can add really will make the letter look even better. So I'm working my way around, trying to be as artistic as I can. If you don't like where you've put something, it is on the hot glue. You can take it out again and move it around. So yeah, just keep experimenting, keep building up your flower pattern. Ideally, what you want is no gaps. You don't want to be able to see through to the bottom of the base of the letter. So it's going to be really, really full of flowers. So this does take some time, and it is worth doing it properly. So once you've fully filled your letter with your flowers, it's time to start intertwining the fairy lights. So because these fairy lights are on a very thin wire, it is very easy to sort of bend them and twist them in and out of all the sort of heads of the flowers. And that's what we want to do. We want, when the thing is switched on, for there to be a little firefly light everywhere embedded in this letter. Now, the easiest thing to do when you're doing this is to turn the lights on. It's much easier to see where you're putting your fairy lights if they're switched on. This does sort of ruin the whole bing, turning it on at the end reveal, but it does make things a lot easier. I opted for just turning mine on every so often just to check my progress. But yeah, you want to intertwine the wire in and out. So you're just going to wind it around flower heads, underneath, so that the little firefly lights sit underneath petals, and when they're switched on, they're going to illuminate underneath that petal. So ideally, you don't want to see the firefly lights. You just want to see the light coming from underneath the flower. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to utilise my scissors, as you can see, to push the wire into sort of small crevices, and also utilise my hot glue gun to fix the wire into certain places and make sure that the fairy lights stay put. And basically you're just going to work your way around until you've got no more wire left, no more fairy lights, and they're all embedded and positioned in the places that you want. As I said, because it's wire, you can twist it and really manipulate it to get those little firefly lights to sit exactly where you want. It's a little bit of a time-consuming job, but again, as I always say, it's worth doing it properly. And once you're finished and happy, we're actually going to affix the excess wire and the battery pack to the back of the letter. So I'm just going to run a little bit of glue. We already ran this wire over the letter, so we're all ready to just affix. A little bit of glue just to fix that last bit of wire. Then I'm going to apply some glue to the back of the battery pack and press that on to the bottom corner of the letter. The battery pack is actually going to help the letter stand up. It actually provides a little bit of extra support, so it's worth lining up the battery pack with the bottom of the letter so it can sort of act as a stand. And then going to use the hot glue just to glue around the excess fairy light wire, just to make the back look really, really neat, and so that we don't see any of that wire. So now your battery pack is helping the letter stand up, and with a little flick of the switch, you can turn on your lights. So you won't see any of that messiness behind once it's on your shelf. And that's it, finished. Your letter is ready to display. You can either pop it on a shelf or you could even hang it on the wall. I have mine just propped up on a shelf. I love the way it looks in the daytime without the lights on, but of course in an evening, click those lights on for such a beautiful little feature to a room. I love how the lights just bleed through underneath the flowers and make the whole thing just look really pretty. I love mine, and I really hope that you'll give this DIY a go. I'd love to know what you think. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and of course do subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.